Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Caroline Griffin. I am the Director of Operations for the Riot organization. And we are super excited to have Tony Sammarco and Kyle Woosley here today to present a wonderful Lunch and Learn presentation on smart farming with IoT. I know you guys are here to see Tony and Kyle, so I'm just going to go over some quick reminders. If you have any questions throughout the event, please do put those in the chat box. We'll make sure all of your questions are answered after the presentation. And if you do have any specific questions around costs or use cases, we'll make sure that you connect to Tony and Kyle separately after the event. The next reminder is that we are recording this event, so you will be available to view the presentation afterwards on Riot's YouTube channel, and it will be posted to the meetup page where you registered. But one more, just quick reminder, if you do not mind just making sure you are muted, we only want to hear from Tony and Kyle until the Q&A section. But without further ado, I will hand it over to Tony and Kyle. Thanks so much for being here today, everybody.
Thanks, Caroline. Thanks for the great introduction. And thank you all for joining this Lunch and Learn. We're excited for the services that Riot provides to the IoT community, and we're happy and proud to be members of the organization. It's provided tremendous resources for us, and we're thrilled to give this presentation today. So the smart farming world has been largely an untapped area of IoT from a collective standpoint that integrates all parts of the ecosystem. Traditionally, people have thought of managing bin inventory at the farmer, which we call the grower, at the grower's level. And also the growers have traditionally had difficulty estimating and viewing how much grain is in each one of these small silos at the farms. It can range anywhere from banging on the sides of the bins to climbing up to the top of the bins and looking down in. But you can imagine that that can be a dangerous situation, especially with bad weather. And then the accuracy of these estimates really put a strain on the entire ecosystem, from the grower to the mill, to the production facilities, and even the farm services that provide advanced analytics to the farms. So it all starts with the data and aggregating the data in a usable way. And the one untapped piece of farm data that's critical to all these parts of the ecosystem really starts with something as simple as monitoring the level of feed in the bins at the farm. So we're going to go through all the different players within the ecosystem and show you how they all tie together in the ecosystem to bring a really, really interesting solution to all players with an incredible ROI. So my name is Tony Sammarco. I work for Device Solutions. I'm the Director of Technology Strategy. And one of the things that we like to focus on is we're a small company that really creates the hardware and the solutions. We partner with really smart people like EnVision to help roll out an entire end-to-end solution. So we are the equipment provider and the specialists in the wireless technology. And then we partner with super smart people on the sensor side and on the application side, like Kyle and EnVision, who you will meet here shortly. I've got over 30 years of experience in the wireless space, come from a software engineering background and worked for many years for Ericsson on the systems engineering side as well. And working with connected products and IoT products really has been exciting, and it's really been fun, and I'm glad to be a part of it. So Device Solutions is a small engineering company in RTP. We're primarily hardware and software development, and almost 100% of our employees come from the wireless background, both in hardware and software development. We do quite a bit of manufacturing and contract products directly for customers, but we also have an end-to-end IoT product called Celio, which provides a generic platform for connecting sensors at the edge, providing that data up to the cloud, and providing analytics and dashboard and alert presentation at the cloud. So we do have a commercial product from a generic sense, but we also specialize on verticals that can be rolled out to specific markets, like we're talking about today for smart farming. Kyle?
Hi, this is Kyle Woosley. Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Caroline, for having me today to be a part of this. So we're excited to share with you some about what we're doing in partnership with Device Solutions to address this market. Again, my name is Kyle Woosley. I'm one of the partners here at EnVision Enterprise Solutions. I have to say it, I'm an electrical engineer from Clemson University, so go Tigers. I got a big game on Saturday, got to get that out there. I'm very excited about this time of year. I've got about 20 years of component sales experience, from connectors to semiconductors. And then now I'm just excited to be part of our EnVision Solutions team. My focus is on the agricultural vertical market, where focused on sensor development, bringing in strategic partners to augment the solutions, and then also focusing on key customer engagements. Next slide. So EnVision Enterprise Solutions is headquartered here in Raleigh. We were founded back in 2014 with our key focus to diversify our 23-year-old semiconductor business. Our goal is to use our technical backgrounds and these key relationships that we've built over the years to solve customer problems, really interesting problems that we've run across. We partner with the likes of Device Solutions and their 30 years of wireless expertise, and bring in other players that we know to augment that, and then create complete value solutions to different verticals. The one that we're going to speak a lot about today is the automated feed bin monitoring solution that we've come up with. But we also address other vertical markets with things like people detection and tracking, video surveillance, fleet management, and then even recently the rural internet connectivity for online learning. So these are just some of the different solutions that we've been able to put together. Next slide. So the whole smart farming thing, when we were forming this new business for ourselves, we looked at different industries, and the agriculture market just really came to the top. It was clear to us that it was very underserved for technology, and us being technology people, we saw that as a big opportunity. That, coupled with the fact that there are a number of large agriculture companies in the Southeast, made it even more interesting to us, because it was just proximity to our sales area. So those things led us into dealing with agriculture. So then we had some initial conversations. Smart farming itself is just so poised for growth, and it's being fueled by things like the advances in the 4G and 5G cellular space. Lower cell plans are available now that weren't available 5 years ago. And then to Tony's point, there's just so many more players in the IoT space that support this ecosystem, that it gives us lots of things to pull from to create complete solutions. And so we just really feel that this is a huge growth market for us. Next slide. So the feed bin challenge, the small feed bin challenge, as we would call it, came to us from a hog integrator. That's where we first were introduced to this. And as Tony mentioned, historically, this has been something where, the feed levels at the farms have been, to take the inventory, it had to be either visual and or, basically banging on the side of the bin. And I've seen everything from balls to hammers to poles with tennis balls on the end, you name it, I've seen it. It's very creative what they come up with to bang on the side of a bin. But it's not safe, and nobody really wants people climbing up on bins, especially in bad weather and whatnot. So this is a challenge. Well, it's also feed, and feed is probably over 50% of the cost to these integrators. It is the manufacturing and distribution of feed is very, very important to them. So they want to be able to manage that closely. Existing solutions that were out in the field when we entered this market were expensive. There are many solutions out there, and some work very well. The problem that we were being told is that although they exist and they work, they're not scalable from a cost perspective. And so cost became the number one focus. It's like, at many thousands of dollars potentially per bin, it just wasn't something they could scale across a large enterprise. So they challenged us to try and come up with a solution that was cost effective and could be accurate enough to solve their inventory concerns and scale across an enterprise. Next. So to have a solution like this, it actually benefits multiple people that Tony kind of alluded to earlier. It's not just the mills themselves, or the grower themselves. There's actually the growers benefit, the mills benefit, the producers of the people, the production where the meat's processed. And then these farm services and solution companies require data to provide their interesting analytics back to these companies. So they need the raw data. So all these groups actually benefit from having this. We're actually going to put up a poll here in just a little bit after we let Tony talk a little bit about each one of these groups and let you try and figure out if you fit into one of these categories, and then we'll share those results with the group. Next.
Great, thanks, Kyle. We've created a fictitious character named Michael the Mill Manager to help walk through some of the pain points that he faces as a mill manager. But since he's also in charge of the data from the growers and then interfacing to the mills and interfacing to the production facilities, he has a unique spot in the ecosystem that he has visibility to all players. So he understands pain points from all parts of the ecosystem. And Kyle and I have spoken to countless mill managers in the Southeast and in the Northeast to understand where their pain points are and what they need to really create a great ecosystem with a terrific ROI. So he's going to help walk us through these different parts of the ecosystem. And it all, like we said, it all starts with the grower. So trying to deal directly with individual farmers is not the right strategy. There are certainly issues that each individual grower has, and having an automated bin measuring system can certainly benefit the grower. But to have to work with hundreds and hundreds of growers at an individual farm basis isn't really where the economies of scale and the great ROI that benefits the entire ecosystem comes into play. That's with the manager, but we still with the mill manager, but we still want to focus on what are the needs of each of the people within the ecosystem. And the grower, of course, he has very many responsibilities with respect to making sure that the crop is healthy, that the animals are healthy when they're delivered to the producer, but also to help maximize the benefit and minimize his cost and minimize any risk to employees with respect to obtaining that individual bin data. So it's crucial for him to know how much feed is on his farm. He cannot run out of feed in bad weather conditions. He has to be able to give the mill accurate feed level measurements so the mill can forecast and deliver the feed that he needs so he does not run out of feed. And as Kyle mentioned earlier, there are legacy automated feed bin systems out there, but some can be very expensive. And for the grower to foot that bill may not make sense from an ROI perspective. You can see here this picture on the right in the bin. One of the more popular solutions is called load cells, which is actually little scales that are mounted underneath the feet of every bin. And that's a very expensive solution. It's very difficult to retrofit for all the bins that are on the existing farms. And there are certainly reliability issues with that and other sensors as well. Radar and sonar have trouble with corrugated bins, but it really all comes down to cost and having an affordable and accurate solution to support the grower's needs. So at the mill, they're the ones who receive all the data from all the farmers. One mill services many farms, typically over 100 farms. So it's super important that they know what point in the life cycle the animals are in, because they're the ones who have to mix the different types of feed that are needed for the animals at that point in their life. They also need to be able to forecast how much grain they need to bring to the mill in order to produce the feed. And also, this is the delivery route optimization is one that was an early on benefit that everybody realized. We can optimize truck routes by knowing what feed needs to go to what farms at what locations. That's true, but that's a very trivial part of this overall solution But it certainly is a benefit that can have some lasting impact on fuel savings and contributing to the carbon footprint by optimizing the delivery routes of the trucks. But that's a small part of the entire ecosystem. The producer, so they're the ones who process the animals when they come in. They are keen to understand how can they improve the process, how can they be more efficient, how can they be more efficient predicting when the right time for production is. And often the piece that they're missing is the data from the small feed bins that help them understand better ways to optimize the life cycle. Even spreading out the placement of the product at the farms so they're not overwhelmed with peaks and valleys. That can have a huge impact on the producers to understand that. And finally, relatively new to the IoT smart farming industry are these companies that provide entire farm services. Think of them as aggregators of all the information that exists at the farm. There's been systems that monitor the water intake, the curtains that need to go up and down, the temperature, the humidity, the ammonia, all these individual pieces of data that exist at the farm, at the mills, that are good among themselves, but aggregating those into a meaningful solution that can improve areas across the ecosystem is something that these farm services companies are really focused on. And again, the one piece of information that really would help them provide a more complete solution of analytics all goes back to the bin, like that we've been talking about. So they're an important part of the ecosystem that's really up and coming, big data analytics to provide value to the entire ecosystem. Caroline, are we ready with our poll results?
We are launching it now. So everyone, there's a poll question right out now. If you guys don't mind answering this, and then we will share the results as they come in.
Terrific.
Just a reminder, if you do press other, please place your role in the chat box so we can get an idea. Tony, it's looking right now that 7 people, the 47% are smart farm IoT equipment providers, 13% are farm services slash solutions, and 40% are others. So if you did put other, please put your role in the chat box. Thank you, Jim. He is an IoT developer and Riot supporter, and we'll keep getting those in. Thank you.
Terrific. Now I'll turn it over to Kyle.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony. So in comes the solution, right? So we get involved and we work with Device Solutions. We enable our solution with their Celio transceiver and gateway connectivity. And then we worked with partners from our history and from our resources to develop the sensor technology and to deliver an end-to-end solution to address this. And we'll tell you a little bit more about that. Next slide. So on this slide, we'll talk a little bit about how the Celio works in our solution. Again, we use their transceivers and gateways. A single transceiver is placed at each bin. We have a single bin kit and a dual bin kit. The dual bin kit was an interesting development. Here again, cost focused. In the poultry specific industry, they use a lot of tandem bins, 2 bins per house. When we noticed this, we realized that there could be a lot of hardware and operational savings if we could share one transceiver between 2 feed bins. So we worked to develop a cable that could be split between the 2 bins, and Device Solutions worked with us to enable that capability in the transceiver. So now we have that option when people have 2 bins that can be fed from 1 transceiver. Again, lowering the hardware cost up front as well as the overall operational cost. One of the other big benefits in the transceiver is the fact that it operates off of a 9-volt battery. This is a installation savings, if nothing else. It keeps people from having to hire expensive electricians and trench cable out to the bins. It also is something that you wouldn't necessarily pick up on. It helps with lightning protection. If you have AC power running to the bins, such as load cells do, that can be very subject to lightning on the farms. And that has caused lots of problems over the life of some of those load cell type solutions. So that's been a big benefit. And the gateway itself is a single gateway that we can use on one farm. It'll talk to many sensors, not just our EnVision sensors, but if we had other sensors that we can put out in the farm for monitoring liquid levels or temperatures in other places, other types of things, we can monitor all of those devices through a single gateway on the farm. We have yet to find a farm installation where we can't cover the entire farm with one gateway. This provides just two real main benefits right out of the chute. One is it's less hardware costs. So we just have one cellular modem that we're having to pay for that farm. The other thing is that we get position control of that gateway. That is something that is in some of the other solutions on the market today, where they have a cellular connection attached to every sensor, they are limited in where they can place the actual cellular device, because it has to be located where the sensors are. And so therefore, if you don't get a good cell signal at that particular location, then you may be unable to use that solution. In our case, we can actually locate the position on the farm to find the best cellular reception. And that has worked to our benefit in a number of cases, because as you can imagine, in a lot of these farms, the coverage can be spotty at best. Again, just to highlight the wonderful expertise that Device Solutions has brought into this, is that that's been a differentiator. Their expertise in the RF side has enabled us to be able to use the cellular side of this, where we could not even get a cell phone to work. We can still get the connection to work with our cellular device. And that has to do with the way that the Device Solutions has crafted their gateway solution. Next slide. And so here we'll talk a little bit about the sensor itself. So as Tony had mentioned, we looked at numerous technologies for the sensors, but we finally came up with cost being the key focus. We had to get to a solution that was scalable, and the temperature cable sensing technology really came to the top in terms of what technology would be the best. Then it was a matter of, can we build the cable in such a way that it's minimalistic in nature, if you will. So we didn't want to, you could easily over design that solution, but then here again, it increased the cost. So we went through multiple iterations and testing to come up with what would be the minimum criteria for this cable in this environment, in this particular instance, to keep costs down. The solution is extremely simple to install, 15 minutes. And here again, and compared to load cells and some other solutions, it is just drastically less expensive. But at the heart of our solution is our algorithm. It's been optimized over 5 years worth of data coming in from all over the country in hundreds of bins, all kinds of different weather situations, hot and cold, and those types. And we continue to evolve that algorithm, and it just continues to get better. But based on all this, the data that we've been able to accumulate, we've really been able to optimize this and make this extremely accurate. So this slide shows, what I want to highlight here is just the simplicity of the solution. It really is just transceiver plugging into a sensor. And what I like about it is that we've created this as a plug and play solution. We pre-configure this for every farm so that there's no setup. Nobody has to get on a computer, log in, do any kind of setup work. They literally drill a hole in the top of the bin, drop the cable in, put in some silicone sealant, 4 screws, plug it into the transceiver, and they are up and running. They'll get, one of the most recent advancements we made was for installers and for the installation process, that when this is completed and completed successfully, you get an email to the installer that tells them that everything has been connected and all the sensors are actually operating properly. And that was a huge advancement just to make installation fast and simple, and also just to give that full knowledge that everything is working when you walk away from a job site. So here we go, talk a little bit about the ROI for the mill. One of the things that we ran into once we were talking to numerous customers is the difficulty in actually putting, figures around what is the return on this. Everybody felt that they could just tell they knew inherently that it would be of value to them, but they were having difficulties putting it down in writing. So we took it upon ourselves to accumulate all the value propositions that we had heard from the many customers and put it into a format that they could use as sort of a worksheet to assess their own operations and decide, is this something we want to do? So this is an example of that spreadsheet where we have provided to numerous different integrators, and they have found it valuable. In general, this breaks down to a couple of different key areas. One is the labor side at the mill. So you got feed clerks, flock advisors, and mill managers that all have time that are their daily activities that are reduced because if they have this automated. The other part, like Tony mentioned earlier, was trucking and transportation of feed. That's a huge piece of the equation. There's a lot of costs around things like emergency outages, haulbacks from when people overestimated how much feed they needed, route optimization, knowing where just how to better plan your truck routes. And then vacuum outs are a huge concern. There's a special truck needed to go and pick up feed when they have to suck feed out. If they put medicated feed in the wrong bin, then that has to be accounted for and sucked out and brought back. At the end of a flock, or there's a lot of times they have to pick up the feed. So minimizing how much feed is left at the end of a flock is a really big concern, so they don't have to run multiple trucks out to vacuum out. So these are all things that are variables that are different for every mill organization, because some are better than others. Some have very little problems in these areas, and some have huge problems in certain areas. So this allows them to help get a feel for how could they benefit. And we found this to be a very successful tool in helping them understand that. But in general, we find that they can. A typical mill is going to save, $250,000 or more per year on year, and that the payback is somewhere in the 12 to 24 months, depending on their situation. The last comment I'll make about ROI is that one of the big things that's not even listed here is safety. Safety is a huge concern, and in a lot of cases, it's the number one concern of some of these organizations. They simply don't want their people climbing on bins. People have fallen, and you can get hurt and even die from falling off of the feed bin. And nobody wants that in their organization. Nobody wants bad publicity from that. Nobody wants workers' compensation claims from that. And that's a kind of a wild card, but it's, in some cases, it's the main driving force for having something like this, and for an automated, solution where this can be done without, human intervention.
And Kyle has a nice set of rappelling gear that he uses when he climbs bins to make sure there's no accidents there. And we've both climbed many, many bins and can attest to the danger involved.
It's especially fun when it's sub-0 degrees.
Yeah, on the cold metal.
Yes.
Thanks, Kyle. So let's go back to Michael, the mill manager, to give us a wrap up what we've learned here today, and that implementing the solution at the bin level with EnVision powered by Celio really provides one of the key missing components to enable all these ROI goals to be met, and to enable a better product and a better solution for everyone across the board. And as Kyle mentioned, there's additional benefits that having the gateway at the farm provide, other than just relaying the incredible sensor technology and algorithm that we've developed to estimate the feed level within the bin, but any other sensors that need to be picked up for a particular farm. For example, there's lots of regulations regarding lagoon levels at every hog farm. So adding sensor capability to monitor and report lagoon levels when the levels of the lagoons rise to a point that requires some immediate action by the individual farmers. Monitoring power outages, monitoring water supplies and wind and rain and all other interesting sensors. If you can connect the sensor, we can get that information back to the back end and add to the value added services. The farm services providers are super excited about having that kind of connectivity to enable and aggregate other disparate systems that have existed on farms. And the forecasting. So there is a reliability issue with respect to individual growers reporting the data in a timely manner. Having it all automated really is a huge benefit for the accuracy and cost savings for each of the mills as well. Let's see if I can move to the next slide here. So we've tried to illustrate all the individual players within the ecosystem and the benefits that they all realize from something as seemingly simple as a cost-effective solution for getting the level of the feed in the bins back to the cloud that can be used by many services. So I really thank EnVision for pulling this solution, together in an end-to-end solution that can be deployed with a fast ROI. The benefits are terrific, and it meets right in with our expertise at Device Solutions to provide that equipment. Okay, Caroline, I think, has been aggregating some of the questions from you all. And if you have any other questions, please put them in the chat window to Carolyn now, and Kyle and I will do our best to address.
Thanks so much, Tony, and thank you to Kyle as well. Wonderful presentation, and just wanted to thank Device Solutions and EnVision for being here today. As Tony said, Device Solutions has been a longtime supporter of Riot, and we're very thankful to have them as part of our sponsor ecosystem. The first question we have here, Tony and Kyle, from Deepak is your dashboard and device management platform in-house solution?
Kyle, you want to take that, or do you want me to?
You go ahead. Thank you.
So right now it's in-house. We are certainly capable of finding partners to supply the device management function. EnVision is provided with a set of tools that allow them to change configuration parameters of all the equipment on the farm. If there's any OTAs that we need to push out to the farms, we can certainly do that as well. So it is with a set of tools that we've developed together with EnVision.
Thank you, Tony. Next question here from Matthew. Is the cellular range solution separate as well as receiving that specific data?
If you're speaking about the communication connection between the transceiver and the gateway, the answer is yes. We actually use LoRa, 900 megahertz LoRa as the interface between the transceiver and the gateway. So there's no reliance on any external RF or any external system to provide the connectivity between the transceivers and the gateway. And as Kyle mentioned earlier, since we are using LTE Cat 1, the burden on the uplink is quite small, and the retries are quite small and quite focused. So we can have a reliable connection with the cellular connection, even in really, really poor areas where the cellular connectivity is not good enough to keep a phone call up and running. Kyle, I don't think we've had a single instance where we've not been able to get connectivity, and we can also provide signal boosters and signals enhancers and micro base stations connected through Ethernet port in the back end to enable that connection in the back end as well.
I only know of the one site in West Virginia where we just did a survey. We actually did not implement a solution there yet. That we did a study and there was just zero signal to be had. So
Yep.
That was the only one I'm aware of.
Great.
But I will attest to the fact that there were multiple times I could not make a phone call, but yet our solution would get through. So that's for sure.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Next question here from Vinay. How often do you send out feed bin level data?
I could take that one.
Mm-hmm.
Our standard solution is a once a day, and we have both an email that goes out to as many recipients as needed. And we also have dashboard access that can be seen for legacy that keep the history so people can go in and see the levels from a historical perspective. But along those lines, we actually are big believers in that, having people have a less to look at, less to log into is a good thing. So we've gotten really good response back from them receiving an email report daily that just shows up in their email with their current levels. That's been a big hit.
I'll add on to that as well. There's a huge difference between what people need and what they want. And the daily measurements have proven to be more than enough to provide the periodicity needed at the mill and at the growers to provide the level of security and the level of accuracy needed to supply the forecasts for the mill and the grain and the accuracy needed. Of course, the solution is flexible enough to provide more than daily measurements, but you have to consider the trade-offs that go along with that, such as the battery life. But it's funny that people think we have to have measurements every hour. Well, think about the entire ecosystem and how that information is used. And we've really gotten great cooperation and confirmation from the ecosystem that the daily measurements are more than sufficient.
Thanks, guys. Next question here from Christian. What protocols do you use to communicate data between 1, the sensor and the gateway, and 2, the gateway and the station?
Okay, I'll take that one, Kyle. So between the transceiver and the gateway, we use 900 megahertz LoRa with a proprietary MAC layer. So we don't use LoRaWAN. It's not the LoRaWAN protocol. We utilize the physical layer, and we have a proprietary MAC layer. The proprietary MAC layer is provided to us in an open standard called CUP, the Celio Universal Protocol, which can be implemented. And to the earlier question on device management, all the necessary APIs for managing the devices are built into the proprietary MAC layer protocol that rides on the 900 megahertz LoRa RF. Between the gateway and the back end, we do have cellular, LTE, Cat1, Cat-M, and narrowband coming soon. We've also have a Wi-Fi version, but traditionally, as many of the lunch and learns that Caroline has hosted, getting onto other people's Wi-Fi upsets IT departments and companies. And it truly is the Wild West of configuration with security passwords changing constantly that would require constant monitoring and changing of the interfaces to keep that link to the cloud open and reliable. We've had tremendous success using LTE, using cellular from the gateway to the cloud.
Thanks, Tony. And to your question about cost, I would just encourage you to please reach out to either Tony or Kyle, and they will answer that question directly. Jim has a question here. Could you please speak to proprietary versus open aspects of your platform?
So the solution is proprietary in the sense that it's an end-to-end offering by EnVision. It's customizable for the customers within the product offering that EnVision has defined. So I guess, Kyle, would you like to speak on that?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, the product itself, EnVision, is a standard offering, I guess. If that's, I'm not sure that addresses the question. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, I guess let me say one other thing, like the sensor development and the algorithm development is very proprietary. That's the special sauce. That's the real benefit. You can't just plug another sensor in to get that same information. There's so much more behind gathering the data that the sensor gathers and turning that into a feed level. So that's very proprietary. And that's the secret sauce that enables us to provide such a low-cost solution to outfit every bit at every farm.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Kyle. And if anybody has any additional questions on that subject, again, please reach out to Tony and Kyle. Their email addresses are right there. Next question from Larry here. Is the LoRaWAN protocol being used between the gateway and the sensor?
It is not. We are using the Semtech LoRa chip for RF. It's a terrific RF link that provides 1 mile line of sight and terrific penetration through obstacles. As Kyle said earlier, one gateway can service hundreds of transceivers at a single farm and not provide any RF connectivity issues. So we use LoRa for the RF, and we do not use the LoRaWAN protocol at the MAC layer. We replace that with our proprietary one that's focused on the APIs specific to this end-to-end solution.
Thanks, Tony. If anyone has any additional questions, we do have some time here. So, here's one from Scott. What analytics are driven by the sensor data?
It all comes down to bin level. So the sensor, actually, you know what, Kyle, I'll let you talk about the sensor itself.
Yeah, so the sensors, measure the temperature, and we use that to basically return a level for each individual bin, right? Beyond that, any analytics are up to the customer at this point. I mean, they can bring that data in and use that however they see fit. There's third parties that can bring that data in and use that level as information that they can do for all types of analytics that they might want to run that require understanding the consumption rates, for instance, at a particular site. So, but at our level, it is strictly a level that we're reporting back, and that's it.
Right. And then to expand on that a little bit, the farm services folks within the ecosystem, like Kyle said, just that bin level data can be used in conjunction with other data that they are receiving from the farm, such as water consumption, the feed type that the mills are delivering to the farms, to help them really optimize. If this many days into this cycle, switch to this feed. After this many more days, after this consumption rate, switch to this feed. And then based on the temperature in this farm, if it's hot, if it's cold, how much feed is being consumed, to drive to the health of the crop as well. All that data is aggregated and produced by the farm services community. So it's really a terrific additional piece of the puzzle for them to provide terrific analytics.
Yeah, I'll add to that and just say today, a lot of them already have a system in place, right? And they're using this day in and day out. And what they do is they actually take a call-in level from the field, but they only get it once a week. And that does a reset on all their projections for what they have to manufacture. And so by having this automated level coming in every day, it's able to update their projections on a regular basis and make them much more accurate.
Thanks, guys. Next question here. Are you guys using ontology in data science?
No.
Yeah, so the algorithm itself that takes the data from the sensor and turns that into a bin level is all proprietary. Using that data, the bin level data, and putting it to use to produce these other cost-saving measures within each component of the ecosystem is really left up to the consumers of the data.
Thanks, guys. Last question that I'm seeing here, and you guys might want to take this one offline, is what was one of your bad experiences with a customer?
Well, I've got one.
Oh, all right.
So early, well, I've got a couple, but one that's kind of interesting. So we were in a trial, and this particular integrator was seeing what was capable. Well, the farmer himself got very interested in the data and knowing the data. And so then it became a question of responsibility. So then the integrator got nervous, because if we were providing the feed data back to the mill, then the farmer would then stop taking responsibility for having to read the bins and know the levels. And then if the feed did not get delivered correctly, and there was poor performance at the farm, then the farmer would blame the mill for letting him run out of feed. And so it became a little antagonistic. But yeah, he said, she said, but because it's, the mill is ultimately responsible for the feed, right? They own the feed from manufacture, at least in this particular case, and manufacture to delivery and everything. So, and if the farmer goes without feed for too long, the birds won't grow and he won't perform. And if he doesn't perform, the birds aren't as big and they don't get paid. And so it became it became a little bit of a sticky wicket between the grower and the mill. That was an interesting one.
And I'll add on to that. I really like questions like this, because it's questions like this that really help us hone the entire offering. And I think the biggest, one of the problems that we've had is convincing people that you don't need an hourly measurement, that a daily measurement is good enough. And when I say good enough, I mean terrifically sufficient to enable all these other parts of the ecosystem to become more efficient. And also, like Kyle said, it really is establishing trust and erasing skepticism on he said, she said. The growers don't want to be blamed for inaccurate data, but they also know how important it is that they don't run out of feed. They don't want to climb bins. They don't want to climb 30 bins every day and get an inaccurate measurement and report it back to the farm, but to the mills. But they also don't want to be blamed when something goes wrong. So establishing that trust and helping them understand that, look, guys, this is to your benefit as well, was really one of the, I wouldn't call it a bad experience. I would call it a discovery that really needed to change the mindset of how the growers viewed this. So.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for sharing those. Question here from Christian. Did you try ultrasound type sensors?
We've tried every type of sensor. Ultrasonics are also difficult. They provide their own difficulties from, like Kyle said, also from a cost perspective. But then the corrugated steel interior of the small bins, just the physical makeup of the bins, causes a challenging environment for ultrasonics.
Thanks, Tony. Well, we have a few more minutes. If you have any more questions, we'll leave it open for a few more minutes. But I just want to thank our wonderful presenters. Again, thank you, Tony. Thank you, Kyle. Very wonderful presentation. Again, you will be able to view this presentation on Riot's YouTube channel and the meetup page. I encourage you to reach out to Tony and Kyle via their emails that they have provided here. This is Riot's last Lunch and Learn of 2020, so we'll see you back in 2021. What a way to end it with this amazing presentation. Really thankful for Device Solutions again, and EnVision as well. Happy holidays, everyone. Take care of yourselves.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Really appreciate you hosting this. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. Take care.